Good to meet Chris. So glad you're here. Stand and sing with us. I've lived my life to the limit. I'm at the end of myself. I say this, but I know we know me. Your love is waiting to catch. I'm falling into you. 'Cause no one's gonna love me like you do. Alright, I've got nothing to lose. I can't stop, won't stop falling into you. Alright, the rush I felt in the free, oh, that lost control of my life. Jesus, I found that you've always had me. Your love is never enough. I wanna love you like you love me. I wanna love you like you love me. I'm falling into you. 'Cause no one's gonna love me like you do. Alright, I've got nothing to lose. So can't stop, won't stop falling into you. Alright, I wanna love you like you love me. 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 1, 2, 3. Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm falling into you. 'Cause no one's gonna love me like you do. You do, yeah, yeah. I've got nothing to lose. So can't stop, won't stop falling into you. My God, yeah. Into you. 'Cause no one's gonna love me like you do. Alright, I've got nothing to lose. So can't stop, won't stop falling into you. Alright, falling into you. Falling into you, my God. I'm falling into you. Falling into you. I'm falling into you. I'm falling into you. Ooh, welcome, welcome. As the band starts here underneath us, I would like to take this moment to formally welcome you. If I haven't had a chance to meet you, my name is Taysa. I am one of the worship leaders here, and I'm very glad that you have joined us here. We are going to take this time at the beginning of the service just to sing some things that we believe to be true about God. These two songs that we are singing, they're very similar. So we just sang this really upbeat one. We're dancing around, we're feeling it. We think we're feeling it. And then this one, we're going to take a deep breath, take a step back. And so in these moments, sometimes we're ready to dance around, sing these things at the top of our lungs. And other times, we're ready to just sit in this moment and think of where we're at. And sometimes we want these things to be true. So whether you are in the moment where you are feeling it, where you are in it, or whether you're in the moment where you want to believe these things. So we hope that you sing here with us. All the worries of this world, I will lay them at your feet. Surrender every anxious thought for perfect peace, your perfect peace.
Well, good morning. I'm glad to know that you're awake even without having coffee this morning. Hopefully some of you had it at home. Well, my name is Joni, and I'm one of the pastors on staff, and we are so glad that you chose to spend this next hour or so with us. If you are new, a special welcome to you. We're really glad that you decided to take the risk and visit with us today, and we would love to get to know you a little bit. I would invite you to stop by the Welcome Center on your way out. That's a great place to ask any questions that you have and get some more information about Woodcrest. Also, next weekend, we are having our gathering called Welcome to Woodcrest. And so what that is if you're new or if you still feel new and you would like to come and meet a few staff members, hear a little bit more about Woodcrest, or ask some questions that you have, we would love to visit with you for a time. So that'll happen after the 10:30 service right across the hall in the Connection Center. And after that, we will take you to lunch in the gym. So everyone is invited to a luncheon next week after the 10:30 service in the gym. And so we've been busy planning and preparing for that, so I hope that everybody comes. The youth will join us, so I hope to see each and every single one of you next week. Deal? Okay, all right. Also, I want to draw your attention to these invitations that we have out at the Welcome Center. If you know someone or you're out and about and you meet someone that you think, hey, they could use maybe coming to church, I would encourage you to pick up some of these invitations. I personally believe this is the best place for someone to come and feel welcome and belong and maybe even have an encounter with Jesus. So hopefully you feel that way too. So I would encourage you to think about that and invite some people to come. Well, we have a great service planned for you this morning. We're going to continue our series, We Need to Talk. And in just a moment, Matt Gordon's going to come, and he's going to pick back up in chapter 12. So I'm going to pray, and then we'll get started. Lord, thank you for this day and for the ability to be able to come and gather with friends in a place where we can hear your word and we can worship you. Lord, help us to sense your presence today, whether that's in the words that we sing or the words that we hear with the teaching, or maybe even in someone we meet this morning. Help us to be open and sensitive to what you're doing in us and through us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pop quiz. And the beauty of a pop quiz, you didn't know it was coming. What is the point of Romeo and Juliet? Like, what would your answer be? And some of you are like, I don't care. But if you had to answer, is the point of Romeo and Juliet that we shouldn't judge a book by its cover or a person by their name, what's in a name and all that? Is it that discourse matters? Like, if you read that play the whole time, you're just thinking, if these families would just get in a room and talk, everything would work out differently. Maybe it's that love conquers all, or maybe it's sometimes love doesn't conquer all. It could be that friends matter, that wisdom is important, or that patience is a virtue. And if you were to ask me, well, which is it? My answer would be yes. And how we can begin there is that humans are drawn to stories. That's why I can invoke a play written in the 1500s, and we all have some reference point for it. The synaptic segue of our minds might be thinking Romeo and Juliet, or you might be thinking of junior high when you had to read it, or God forbid you had to act it out. You might be thinking of the movie you saw, or the Baz Luhrmann soundtrack, or your mind could go all different places with it. But it still proves the point that we are drawn to stories. We tell them, we watch them, we even dream them. Speaking of dreams, in Romeo and Juliet, Mercutio says, "True, I talk of dreams, which are children of an idle brain, begot of nothing but vain fantasy." What he's talking about is what's frustrating about dreams is that they are stories unhinged. This is why no one wants to hear about your dreams. We think they do. We're always like, oh, I had such an interesting dream last night. You want to hear about it? And the person's nice and polite, and they say, yes, they don't want to hear about it. I'm just telling you, life hack. No one wants to hear about your dreams. This is how it works in my house. I go into the bathroom and ambush my wife. She's brushing her teeth. I'm like, I had a doozy last night. Want to hear about it? And she's brushing her teeth, so she doesn't answer. I take her silence to mean, yes, I'm dying. I will die on the spot if you don't tell me right now. And so then I just launch in. And when we launch into dreams, that's the problem. We don't know where to launch. So I'm like, well, there are these crabs. And they were like, they're wearing rollerblades, but a couple of them sprouted wings, and they were flying, and we were in my high school. But then we were in a field. I don't know if the field was in your town or my town, but you were there, but it wasn't you. It was like a version of you, but it was, and I just see her eyes go dead, glazed over, brushing her teeth like, will this end? I don't care. Because no one wants to hear about your dreams, because they are pre-baked stories. They need more time in the oven. Mercutio goes on to say they're more inconstant than the wind. But great, developed, tethered, pull out of the oven warm stories, they captivate in their constancy. And while fixed, their meaning can be wide-ranging and far-reaching. And the Bible's like this. We don't read it that way. A lot of times we're just like, oh, I read it because I have to. I read it because I'm at church. Whatever. The Bible's like this, especially the stories of Jesus. In much of what Jesus says and does, there's a fixed centrality, yet there's wide-ranging application and interpretation. It's like a casserole of layered truth upon truth. There's ultimate and lesser things which form a Christian, and then things which form a Christian ethic, or sometimes it's vice versa. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Here's how I picture it. I picture it like a target. Get that in your mind, the image of a target. And with the target, it's a circle, and in its center is a bullseye. That's the star-crossed lover's idea, the main point, the moral of the story. But like in archery or darts, there are other points on the board. They may be lesser, but they still add value. So what that means is when we come to Scripture, when we come to great stories, meaning is a circle. If we can miss the target altogether, we need to throw those out. Those aren't worth anything. But if it hits the target, it matters. And it matters more and more with increasing value as we get closer to the middle, the bullseye. And that's what I want to do today. I want to home in on a single scene of Jesus and then just throw a few darts at the target of truth and eventually land in the bullseye, which holds the whole thing together. So to do that, it's Mark 12, verse 13 through 17. It says this: Later they sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians to Jesus to catch him and his words. So what this means, the Herodians and Pharisees are kind of together, but they kind of have some differing viewpoints. Later, we're going to see, not today, but if you read the rest of the chapter, we'll see the Sadducees come up. We'll see some teachers come up. What this means is that Jesus is now facing an all-star team. Like, it used to be a bunch of different teams that were coming out, and then they're like, hey, we have something in common. We all hate Jesus. Hands in. Let's get him. Like, let's team up and send all of our best people because we have this one objective, this one mission in mind. And that one mission, the goal of this all-star team, is to catch Jesus in his words. It's cancel culture. We talked about that a while back. Solomon says there's nothing new under the sun. This has always happened. Let's get him to say something that will undermine his mission, undermine his ministry, get him out of the picture. So that's what's going on here. So they approach him. And here's something else we could put on the target. Verse 14. They came to him and said, "Teacher." That's not usually what they call him. That's a term of respect, of honor. They hate him. What changed? Boy, their hearts are being transformed, huh? "Teacher, we know that you are a man of integrity." Now hold on. Like 5 minutes ago, they called him Satan. Like if you read Mark, these guys are always coming up and be like, "You're the devil, you're the devil." And all of a sudden they're like, "Teacher, you're such a man of integrity." It's like something's going on here. And then they say this, "You aren't swayed by others," even though that's exactly what we're trying to do. "Because you pay no attention to who they are, but you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth." This is flattery. And that's on the target of this passage. It's not really important. It's kind of on the outer edges, but be careful how you walk among outsiders. Flattery is dangerous. And many of us will bend to flattery because flattery preys upon our pride. It cooperates with it. That we have these prideful thoughts like, "I am the best. I do deserve more." And then someone starts saying this stuff and it's like, oh, and we lean into it. That's what pride does. It laps up flattery without realizing that it is poison. But you notice Jesus doesn't do that. He instantly knows their hypocrisy. Why? How does he describe himself? "I am humble in heart." He's not ruled by his pride. He's not like, "Oh, finally they get it. Well, let me give a lesson," and then get himself in trouble. No, he can take a beat because he doesn't have pride in forming his decisions. So too should we be. And they finally come to the question here, after kissing up for a bit, they come to the question, they say, "Is it right to pay the imperial tax to Caesar or not? Should we pay it or shouldn't we?" Now, this is a big deal context if we understand this. And here's the big deal. Rome is hated. If you watch Star Wars, it's like the Empire. If you like history, it's like we were a British colony. We didn't like that Britain was taxing us or having us harbor and quarter their troops. We hated that they would impose this on us. And that's what Rome is doing to the Jewish people. They hated Rome. They didn't want Rome in control. What they wanted, all these teams, they had two things in common. One, they hated Jesus. Two, they wanted Jewish freedom. So they come with this question to kind of hem Jesus in. So if Jesus says something that's pro-Rome, he's going to lose all his people, all his followers. The disciples, they're gone because they're Jews. They want freedom. They want Rome, they get out of under the thumb of Rome. They want that. So Jesus can't say anything pro-Rome, but if he says something against Rome, look out. His door's going to get kicked in. He's going to have wiretaps. He's going to have CIA kicking in. He's going to be in big trouble. They might feed him to lions. They will do bad things. They will make him disappear because they are the man. They are the power structure in place. So we can't really speak about them. How I liken this to modern times, uncomfortable modern times, I look at the Republican Party of the last handful of years. Because they had this candidate named Donald Trump who became a president named President Trump. That's how that works. And I don't know where you are with President Trump. Some of you are totally on his side. You love him. Some of you loathe him. It's usually one or the other. Shows where we are. But what would happen with President Trump, wherever you are, is I would say this. He's kind of an extreme personality. He says and does some extreme things, or has said and done some extreme things. So what happened in the last handful of years, President Trump would do or say, or candidate Trump or celebrity Trump would do or say some extreme things, and then these things would surface, and they would go to a member of his party and say, "What do you think about what the president said?" And then that person is sort of stuck. If they denounced the president, their party would turn on them and abandon them, and they would lose influence, power. Now, if they don't denounce, they could be complicit in a cause or conduct that they don't condone. It's a political catch-22. And that's what's going on with Jesus here, but you have to multiply it tenfold and then add some barbaric implications. That Rome could end Jesus like that. We come to verse 15. How does Jesus respond? I love this. Because this is like, this is really tense. He doesn't start sweating. He doesn't go, he goes, "Give me a coin." Someone's like, "All right, here you go." They give him a coin. It's a denarius. It's Roman coin. He just takes it in his hand. I love this scene of how patient he is. He just looks at it and they're probably like, "What is he doing? What's he doing? He's paying us for the answer? Or we have to pay him for the answer? What's going on?" He just looks at the coin, and on the coin is an inscription. Something about Rome, something about Caesar, Caesar's name, and a picture of Caesar's on there too, the icon. So he's just looking at it. He's like, well, Caesar's on there, his name's on there, his face is on there. And then this is what I have Jesus doing. I don't know if he did this or not. I have him taking the coin and flipping it in the air back to him. They catch it. And when they do that, he says, "Give back to Caesar what is Caesar's." Give back to him. It has a name on it. So what I want to do is take that scene and then just throw a couple darts here. First dart that this passage means is pay your taxes. That's what he's saying. Now, that's not the main point, mind you. But the Bible's pretty clear that we, and when I say we, I mean people who say they believe in Jesus, that they follow Jesus. I know that's not all of you out here. You're considering. Thank you for being here. That's awesome. But for those who are like, yes, I'm in that club, he tells you, be a good citizen. That we should be honorable. Even when we occupy places in societies that are dishonorable. If you're in a room full of murderers, the Christian response isn't, well, I can be a murderer. No. It's thou shalt not murder. Every time. I imagine if we took a poll and somehow we could follow you all. We surveilled you. 95% of us sped on the way to church today. I did. Guilty. I got here really early. There's not a car on the road, and I was still going 5, 10 over. It's like, what is that? If I do the math, if I speed, and especially the short distance I'm driving usually, it's like, will save me 10 to 30 seconds. If I do it all day and I look back at my day, I've saved 5 minutes. 5 minutes I've spent dishonoring the law. What if I take that same 5 minutes and use it as an act of worship? Because that's what obedience is. So when I choose to go 34 and a 35, I'm worshiping God. Isn't that wild? And the point of this isn't don't speed. And don't judge other. I saw them in church, they were speeding. That's another point. But it is, we should be good citizens. We should obey, and in our obeying, we are bringing honor into the world. Again, not the main point of Scripture, but it's all over the place in Scripture. In the Old Testament, there's this guy named Nehemiah. Nehemiah did some big deal things for his people. And it started out his journey, he had a big deal job called cupbearer to the king. This king is not a king he voted for, by the way. His people were subjects to a foreign king with foreign gods and disparate morals. And Nehemiah becomes one of his top assistants. He becomes his main confidant. He becomes kind of friendly with the king. And in that position, he had all this opportunity to deceive, to gossip about, to undermine, maybe to assassinate. You know what he chose to do instead? Serve well, with excellence, with kindness, with acumen. He decided to do his duty as well as he possibly could. And so then he goes and approaches this king for a favor. The only reason he could do that is probably because he built up some equity by being an excellent employee. But he goes and he approaches this king for a favor. And in chapter 2, verse 3, he begins to ask like this, "May the king live forever." And then he goes on and he asks for some things, and he says it twice, if it pleases the king. Now, did Nehemiah think the king was going to live forever? Was he hoping that you would be immortal, that you would be a godlike king? Did he believe that? No. Why did he say it? Because culturally, that's how you address kings. That's what all the other people would say. So he was like, I don't agree with him, so I'm not going to say this. No. This is what we say to kings in this culture, so this is what I will say to kings in this culture. May the king live forever. It's like we say please and thank you. It's just mannerly. This is why earlier I brought up an example with President Trump. It wasn't even a good example. I wanted to put it in there, one, to make people uncomfortable, and one of the reasons I wanted to do it so I could bring up a second name, President Biden. I remember when President Trump got elected, there was a whole bunch of people who said, that's not my president. And then the people who got mad at people who were saying that said the same thing when President Biden got elected. That's not my president. And to all those people, what I want to say is, let me see your passport. What's your address? Because if you live here, it is your president. It is. You don't get to choose that. We fit into a society that God has ordained. And we're supposed to be bringers of order in that society, bringers of peace. Doesn't mean we have to agree with everything. Doesn't mean we have to vote a certain way. Doesn't mean we have to applaud everything. But we have to honor. We have to bring honor. We have to bring respect. That's why I don't want anyone to ever know my political leanings based on my ad hominem attacks. I don't want to be known for the things I hate and the hatred I spout. I want to be known for what I love, and how I show up, and how I lean in, and how I bring civility. The tax that Jesus is talking about paying to Caesar, Nehemiah pays it, and it's not a monetary tax for him. It's the tax of service, and it's the tax of civility. We see this with Daniel. Daniel's another hero of the Old Testament. Same deal. He is serving a king that is totally different than him in so many ways. And this isn't to say that we all have to agree with everything that goes on and we just have to march and have plastic smiles, because Daniel didn't. Daniel got told some things that were overtly sinful by his king, and he said, nope. They said, you can't pray to your God, you have to pray to me, the king. He said, no, not actually going to do that. They said, no, you have to. He goes, no, I won't do that. That goes against the commandments. That goes against what I believe. That goes against no. And peaceably, they tried to execute him. He's like, that's all right. I'd rather die than dishonor my God. But I'm not going to heap dishonor on you. I'm just going to do my thing. In the appropriate, respectful way. I'm going to show my discontent. But then other times with Daniel, he's like leaning in and helping the king. And it's the weird instance where someone does want to hear about a dream, because the king's like, can you help me decipher my dreams? And Daniel's like, oh, what do you got? And the king starts talking about crabs and rollerblades. And Daniel's like, okay, taking notes. He's helpful in serving the king with his brain, with his intelligence, with his political savvy. Joseph, same deal. Joseph was in prison for many years for a crime he didn't commit under the authority of a king that later he would end up serving. Man, if that was me and you'd put me in jail for a long time for a really embarrassing crime I didn't do, and then I get to be proximate to you, you better believe I'm going to bring some disrespect. Not Joseph. He brought a plan instead, and a plan saved millions of people from starvation. And you say, well, those are rulers. I'm just a regular person. What does that mean for me? Well, we have that in the Bible too, Jeremiah 29. The Israelites are living in a captive land called Babylon. Babylon is one of the most sinful societies that has ever existed. It was hedonistic. Every night was like a Jay Gatsby party. It was a throwdown. Everyone's going crazy all the time in Babylon. And that's where the people live. And so they went and lived across a river. They went and lived over in the next neighborhood. They're like, we won't go near those pagans, but tell us how to live. What should we do? Should we start throwing grenades? Should we just start walking? What should we do? Should we fight? How do we live in this place that we don't agree with any of their ethics, any of their morals? What do we do? So speaking for God, Jeremiah writes them a letter, and it says this, Jeremiah 29:5, build houses and settle down. In other words, don't rent like you're going to leave tomorrow. Take out a 30-year note. You're going to be there a minute. Get the deep roots going. Build houses and settle down. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. Because these people are really game to complain about the society and their rulers, but then also take their food. It's like, no, contribute. What are you doing? You're not adding anything. You're not helping. Contribute. Then he says, marry and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, so that they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in number there. Do not decrease. Also, seek the peace and prosperity of the city. What? Babylon? You want their prosperity? You want peace? Shouldn't we be like agents of chaos? Nope. Seek their peace and prosperity. And I love this line. The peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you in exile. A lot of times we think about this, or we think about our own circumstances, and we think God's got the wheel, and then he drops something like a water bottle under his seat, and he goes and he grabs it, and when he looks up, he's on a different road. He's like, oh my gosh, how do I get back to Interstate 55? I got to find, I don't know how I got on this road. I'll try and fix it. No, he's got his hands firmly on the wheel the whole time. He's reminding them, like, this didn't happen to you. I ordained it. Live well in the space that I've ordained for you for such a time as this, right? That's what he's saying. Then he goes on, pray to the Lord for the city, because if it prospers, you will too. I'm supposed to pray for this place? I'm supposed to love this place? I'm supposed to care for this place? I'm supposed to attend this place? Yes. Contribute to it, influence it, serve it, seek its welfare, its flourishing, its peace. Be good citizens. Why? Well, that's the bullseye thought. We won't go to it first. Let's throw another dart. Here's another dart from this. Render to Caesar what is Caesar. Power is a paradox. It's a paradox. You think about this scene. Jesus asked for a coin. A coin is money, and money is power. And who's got all the money? Caesar. He who has the most toys wins. Caesar wins. His face is on the money. His name is on it. Render to Caesar what is Caesar. He put his name on every dollar bill. That's smart. He's got all the money. He's got that power. Fame is power. His face is on all the money. He's an icon. Caesar's walking around in people's pockets. Everyone knew what Caesar looked like. If Jesus and disciples walked into a room that Caesar was in, Caesar wouldn't know who they were. He'd have to ask someone, who is that? And then someone wouldn't know either. They'd have to go ask, and they'd have to do telephone to get Caesar the names. Be like, oh, Jesus who? I don't know who that is. That means nothing to me. Is he on some currency somewhere? But if Caesar walked into a room, every person on earth would know, because they've seen the money. They know his power. They know his influence. So money is power, fame is power. Caesar had all that. Yet, Jesus is not moved or swayed by this. He flips the coin back. We see this in Matthew 4 in a compelling way. In Matthew 4, Jesus is led into the wilderness to be tempted by Satan. It's where we get to see his humanness. That like, he's hungry. You ever get hungry? You get hangry? Jesus had that too. But he didn't sin in it. That's what we're getting to see in the wilderness scene. And how the wilderness scene starts is interesting because it says this. Then Jesus was led by the Spirit. Again, not an accident. He wasn't wandering into trials and tribulations in his life. It wasn't like an accident all of a sudden, oh man, how did I get in these woods? He was led there. He was led there by God who's in control. And then what happens is Jesus gets hungry, and in his hunger, Satan comes up and says, hey, if you're hungry, there's some rocks over there, turn them to bread. Jesus is like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he takes him to the top of a cliff, and he says, well, if you're so powerful, jump off this cliff and then have the angels save yourself. Do a magic trick. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he takes him to the top of a mountain. It'd be like on an airplane where you can look down, where like if you're within 1,000 miles of it and you can see Las Vegas, the bright lights, the city in the middle of the desert. He takes him and he can see the bright lights, the city, the splendor. And Satan tells Jesus, bow down before me and I will give you this. You can rule it. What he's saying is, become Caesar. Because that's what Caesar had. He owned all this. Become Caesar. Jesus says no. And the reason he says no is because power is a paradox. Jesus would stoop to conquer. Jesus would win the war by washing feet. He would die in order to live. The power of this world is weak and ultimately futile. That's how I feel about my kids. They play house. When my kids play house, it's cute, but it's ineffectual. It's not actually helping our household in any way. He says that power is a paradox, but we don't believe him. Here's how I can prove that we don't believe him. Think of the church and the world. We'll start with the world. The world has a system of building success. This isn't the only system, but this is a main system that the world will build success. Here's how it goes. First, I got to develop a product. Whatever it is, the product in mind. Second, I need to craft a persona in order to sell that product. Third, I need to polish and promote that persona. 4, I need to cash in and repeat. Okay, so let's play that back to Rome. How is Rome doing this? When Jesus says, hey, give me the coin. How is this going on in Rome? Well, what's their product? Their product is Roman rule. That we are the greatest single empire on earth. That we can build the best roads. And why we build the best roads? Because we have the best military. So we can protect, we can fight, we can keep what we've gotten. We have the best minds, the best philosophy. We are Rome. We want the whole crowd chanting, Rome, Rome, Rome. We want everyone to love Rome. We want at least to obey Rome. Rome, Rome, Rome. How do we do this? Well, we need a persona. Caesar. Caesar can be the persona. We can get Caesar out there. We can use him. He can be regal and stately and austere, and he can be everything, the picture of Rome in a single body, in a single human. Now we got to polish him up. We got to make sure we polish and promote him. How does everyone know that Caesar is austere and awesome? Let's put him on the money. Let's put his picture where everyone sees his picture, and let's make sure he looks good, right? Caesar probably got proofs of the coins, and he's like, not that one. Make my nose less. Like, he wanted to look good. I looked at a bunch of coins this week just for reference. The JFK's on a coin. I mean, you could open jars with that jawline. It's amazing. The one coin isn't so good, Susan B. Anthony. Like, no one, I feel bad for her. Like, no one ran to buy her or something. But Caesar's, I guarantee you, they had marketing. Like, let's look at this team. Does he look good in this? Does this one look good? Let's get his face out there so everyone knows the might of Rome. And then cash in and repeat. How are we going to do this? We're going to tax everyone. We're going to flex our military might. And then rinse and repeat. Notice, in Roman history, the ruler changes, but the tactics don't. There's not one Caesar. There's one Caesar, and then that Caesar dies, and a new Caesar. Sometimes there's a Caesar in waiting, and they kill the Caesar because this one would be better at promoting Rome. It's virtuous, right? Because we're all about Rome. We got to get the product. This guy's not doing a great job with the product. Kill him, get the better-looking guy. That's how it works. And now if we fast forward to modern times, what I just described to you is modern marketing campaigns. It's how the influencer industry works. It's how modern age branding and politics works. That's why Richard Nixon, when asked by a presidential hopeful what it would take for him to be a good candidate, he said, lose 20 pounds. What he's saying is, you need more polish. You got to look the part. This is how celebrity culture works. It's also how Western church works. You think about it. What's our product? What does it become? some sort of pseudo-Jesus, some kind of self-help Jesus. What's our product? That we have the slickest church. Everything, our systems are so good. There's technology, like we have retinal scanning devices. We have all this stuff going on. It's like a laser light show. We got everything. What's our product? That our church has the best network. If you want to be a somebody in this town, you got to be at our church because we have the best network. That we have a network for happiness that produce things in your life. Programs. We have the best programs. Our summer camp is now stationed on the moon. That's where we're sending our high schoolers. Like, we have the best. And so how do we get this out there? What do? We have this product we believe in. It's so great. It's this kind of self-help Jesus. What do? We need a persona. Let's get a pastor. If we can't find a pastor, I guess a worship leader will do. But let's find this person that we can stick up there to be CEO, to be chairman, to be king, to be Caesar. We just need our Caesar. Got the product. Now we got our Caesar. Now we got to polish it. Hair plugs, spray tan, strategically located tattoos, gimmicks. Do they speak another language? Let's have them do that. Do they have 16 podcasts? Let's give them 17. Do they have a big platform? Are they a celebrity? Can they juggle? Can they do anything? Let's get them going. Do they look like an Express mannequin? Let's dress them a certain way. If Express goes out, we'll find a different store, but they got to dress to the times, to the nines, because that's who we are. We got to polish this persona because it represents our product, and then we cash in. Money, size. Look how big our church is. How many people go to your church? Isn't that the question you get asked about church almost immediately in the Western world? How many people you got? Oh, okay, yeah, that's medium size. That's pretty cool. You think you'll ever be big? Programs. Ours are the best. Look what we're doing. My kids play house. We play church. I think Jesus would look at many of our churches and say, yeah, it's cute, but it's ineffectual. A big, full building, that's not fruit. A big, full building, that's a crowd. And it's not what we do with the crowd. That's not church. It's what we do as a crowd. It's when a crowd becomes community. Picture of this in Acts 8. There's a guy called Simon the Magician. His vocation was magician. It'd be funny if that was his last name. I'm Simon the Magician. What are you? I'm an architect. No, Simon the Magician. He's a magician. He does magic trick. He does like a thumb trick or pulls rabbits out of the hat, make things levitate. I don't know. But then he finds Jesus. He's a successful magician. He finds Jesus. He's still doing his magic thing. And then he sees the apostles, and they're laying hands on people and healing them. And Simon the Magician is like, now for my next trick, I need that. So he goes to the apostles, and he says, I got to have that. And he pulls out his wallet, and he's got coins of Caesar. He's like, how much? How much for that? How much do I need to pay for the power of the Holy Spirit? And that's a picture of us. That we think with enough money, God will move, with enough wit, with enough production, with enough volume, with the hippest services, with the best capital campaigns, with the most pristine buildings. Are you trying to find building A or campus C? Let me direct you. We can claim our rightful power. We have crafted a copycat celebrity culture all about personal preference and persona when church is supposed to be about pursuit. A God who pursues us even unto death on the cross. And then we, collectively, operative word, pursue him back. In service, in submission, in sharing, in love. Last couple of years, I've had this as like, I've said it 1,000 times, you probably have too. But when people ask me how was church, I'm like, oh, church was good. Oh, really good church yesterday. Church was great. What am I describing? I'm saying I liked the sermon. Or I'm saying the band played a song I enjoyed. It's not supposed to be that's good. It's fine if that's good or not, but what is church? What is church good? It's because God is good. Was church good yesterday? Yeah. Yes. Why? God. Because God is good. That's the product. God. I don't know if you noticed, the Queen died recently. It got like a tiny bit of news coverage. You might have seen it. The Queen died. And while I was watching some of the proceedings about the Queen's life and then her passing, I had this realization. So does every celebrity. Every celebrity dies, some while they're still alive. I think about the modern invention and storytelling and convention. It's like a newer thing we start adding to stories. It's this: they lived happily ever after. And we always think the persona or the celebrity of our choice lives happily ever after. We always think the story ends with happily ever after. It ought to say they lived happily ever after till they died. Well, that'd be great, his and her tombstones. Like my wife says, they lived happily ever after, ellipsis, and then I'm buried right next to her till they died. That's the reality of it. And we put all our hopes and dreams and passions and energy into products, persona, and polish. It's happily ever after till it dies, and it will die. It will die as soon as there's a new scandal, or as soon as there's a new money issue, or as soon as some people leave, or as soon as someone says something and gets canceled. That's the thing about Romeo and Juliet. It's a seemingly sweet tale that ends in death, becoming a runaway tragedy. And when we cling to the Caesar structures of the world, we are willingly attaching ourselves to death. He who has the most toys also dies. Which brings us to the bullseye that holds all of this together and brings life to the living. If I cannot cling to the systems of this world, what else do I have? Well, the rest of the story. We go back to Mark, to verse 17. He says, give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. It's a brilliant answer. So what is God's? That's the arrow that pierces the heart of the matter. And the answer? Everything. Everything. God changes our citizenship. If you're a believer in God, that's something that happens. Your citizenship gets transferred to heaven. Philippians 3:20. Hey, if we play this out just theoretically, let's say like the other day I was at Sonic and I couldn't get the cheese curds. They're too expensive. Supply chain or something. I was like, man, 30 cents more? I can't do that. I'll do it next year. At McDonald's, I haven't had a Big Mac in 7 years because the 2 cheeseburger meal is just so much cheaper. Get a McChicken. I don't need to spend all that on a Big Mac. But now you give me $1 billion, I win the Powerball or something. It'd be nonsensical for me to nickel and dime the McDonald's menu anymore. And from a metaphysical standpoint, God owns everything. So why are we keeping up with the Joneses? Why are we chasing money? Why are we bowing to it? He owns everything. It changes the whole paradigm. If I'm a citizen of heaven, the politics of this world no longer consume me. Because God is sovereign. I think it was Truman who had on his desk, the buck stops here. Wrong. It doesn't. And that doesn't mean that I can't care about politics. I can't be involved. I can't run for office. No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it doesn't keep me up at night. If I don't wake up in the morning and my candidate lost and I'm just in, that's not a despairing moment for me. Because God is sovereign. If I'm a citizen of heaven, the tactics of this world no longer compel and control me. All of a sudden, I don't need my church to give me some experience or else I'm leaving. I'm taking my Bible elsewhere. What is that? I don't need to get my money's worth from some Sabbath marketing firm. It's not about this experience. God is the experience. And I humbly get to share with a community of fellow citizens living that experience. If I'm a citizen of heaven, I'm liberated, freed from the systems of this world. And with this freedom, what do? Well, it's funny because Peter was sitting here watching Jesus do this. Take the coin, flip it back to people and say, render to Caesar what is Caesar's. And then he writes this other letter that's elsewhere in the Bible and he comes back to this. So he's thinking about it. Hopefully you will too this week. Think about what's being said. He was thinking about it. And this is what he says in 1 Peter 2, 13 through 17. He says, submit yourself for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether to the emperor as the supreme authority or to governors. It's not for their sake. It's not because they're like mighty or powerful or they have no control over me, but God does and God tells me to, so I'm honoring God. Just like that speed limit sign. Speed limit sign has nothing on me, but God does, so yeah, I'll just go 34 on the way home. Because of God's authority. And then 15 he says, for it is God's will that by doing good, you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. That's what we're called to do. Live as free people. How do free people live? But do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. How? Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honor the emperor. He can have my honor. Sure. He's not my God. He has no dominion over me or my heart. He cannot touch my soul. Yeah, you can have your coin. Oh, taxes? Sure. Here you go. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, it matters, but not deeply. Not deeply. Christians are, because of their freedom, fountains of honor, geysers of respect, or we should be. We're unbound from this world and liberated to peace. I love when Paul says death has lost its sting. Partly that's a comfort. Again, on the board, maybe the bullseye is, hey, it's comfort because you're going to die and then you're going to spend eternity in heaven. But also on the target would be this, that death is the worst thing any of us will face. It's the journey we make alone. It's going to happen to all of us. It's probably a little bit grueling as we get nearer to it, or it's sudden and drastic, whatever. Death is the hardest thing. And Paul's saying, hey, that old thing, it's got nothing on you. That's lost its sting. So the secondary thing he's saying, everything else is less than death. So again, politics, when they don't go my way, oh, I'm so frustrated. But there's no sting. No sting. Can't sting me. Death doesn't. This is less than death. Okay. Transitive property. This doesn't have sting. Money, I look at my bank account. I'm never going to get where I want to, which is like a lake house. I'm never going to have enough commas. I don't know when I'm going to retire. And that's grueling. That's hard. I get that. It doesn't sting. Doesn't sting. It doesn't have a power over me. It doesn't have a power over my soul. Because I've rendered to Caesar what is Caesar's. His wealth, his fame, his power. Because in the end, bullseye of the passage, he's God Caesar. He has no dominion or authority over God. So yeah, take the coin. He's God Caesar. God is over all. That's the bullseye. God is all and over all. So what does it mean? Well, I want to apply it individually through a corporate construct. I speak here sometimes. You might have noticed because today I'm speaking here. And so from that, speaking here, I get into a bunch of conversations, several conversations a week about this church. And it's because I'm capably competent with a microphone. They made it easy. They strap it to my head. But the type of questions I get now is, where is this church headed? Will there be a new leader at some point? How will we grow? How will we be successful? What's next? I've got ideas. And I would say stuff. It'd be like me talking to my wife about my dream. Well, the crabs will come. Like, I just say stuff. And then I started looking at this passage, and I now have a good answer. The answer is bullseye. How do you grow? How do you be successful? What's next? God is over all. We make that our answer. We believe that. We live that. I'm not saying next week. I'm not saying in 2 years. I'm not saying there's a plan to get there. I'm saying right now. If we have the band come back on, what if today a room full of people took a handful of minutes to render to Caesar what is Caesar? To render to the world what's the world, all the worldly things, all the schemes and worries, and just leaned into the heart of all things, leaned into the bullseye. What if we approached that sacred epicenter for even just a moment on a Sunday? And so the way I think we could do that, it's not some big application that's going to change drip. Well, actually, it probably is, right? This is the application that would change everything, to make God our all. And if we do it just in a moment, maybe we can do it in the next moment or later this week. But one of the ways we can do that, practice that, is to sing together, which seems hokey because you don't like singing. I don't. Here's how we're supposed to worship God, though. We're supposed to worship throughout Scripture. It kind of makes this clear. We're supposed to worship Him in mind and in spirit and in body. And the reason for the body part is so we can see it and do it together. You don't know what's going on in my mind. You don't know what's going on in my spirit, but my body you can witness. And there's all kinds of ways to do this, to worship God with our physicality. Like we could go run a marathon right now. We could worship God while we run that marathon. Thing is, we don't all want to run a marathon, nor can we all run a marathon. I can't. I told you about the McChickens. I can't run that marathon. But we can all sing. That's why singing is part of this. It's not because we're all good singers. It's because it's like the lowest stakes for what we can all do together. It doesn't say sing a joyful noise unto the Lord that's on key. It says make a joyful noise. That's what's beautiful too. If we had someone who's mute in here and can't speak and they feel left out, it's like make a joyful noise. You can bang on something and that's just as worshipful. But when we sing, our lungs are involved. Our breath. I loved earlier, we were out of breath after singing. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a bunch of people just today just got out of breath singing? That's what we're going to do. We're just going to, room full of people, just try and sing. Or try and focus or refocus. Try and express. And what we're expressing is this, simple. God is all. Some of us need to proclaim it loud. No one will judge you. The lights will be low. And if we're all doing it, no judgment. Some of us need to proclaim it quietly. Maybe it's just being still and whispering it. God, you're all. God be all. Render to Caesar what's Caesar. God is all. I don't know what tomorrow holds. You don't either. Let's render that to Caesar. One moment, this moment, the moment we have right before us, we can choose to be citizens of heaven under the loving rule of God alone in Jesus Christ. What we can do is we can come before the God of all with the words from Juliet echoing forth from our heart. And I love these words from Juliet because they're what God says to us, and they're what in worship we get to say back to God. Listen to this from Romeo and Juliet. She says, "My bounty is as boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite." Render to Caesar what is Caesar, and to God what is God's. He's the Lord of all. That's the bullseye. Will you stand and join us?
In the crushing, in the pressing, you were making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you were breaking new ground. So I yield to you into your careful hand. When I trust you, I don't need to understand. Make me your vessel. Make me an offering. Make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. In the crushing, in the pressing, you were making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you were breaking new ground. You were breaking new ground. So make me your vessel. Make me an offering. Make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. 'Cause where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom, and the kingdom is here. I lay down my old flames to carry your new fire today. 'Cause where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom, and the kingdom is here. I lay down my old flames to carry your new fire today. So make me your vessel. Make me an offering. Make me whatever you want me to be. God, I came here with nothing but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me.
So, what does that mean for us as individuals or as a body? One of the key points that Matt was making, and it really stuck out with me, is when we get together as a body, we call ourselves the body of Woodcrest. It's not kind of like, hey, what are we going to do with this crowd? What are we going to do as the crowd? Okay, that's the part of like the work of the body is then how are we going to be on one end, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and then on the other hand, give God what is his. As individuals, maybe the question that we're going to keep asking is going to be maybe tomorrow some of you are going to join me and Matt in our driving habits and try to go speed limit. And then be intentional about this, that act of going speed limit is an act of worship. Maybe it's going to be look different. However, the question I hope that is going to linger and bug you and bug the heck out of you all week. Because it's not about what to do, it's about first the decision of the question and answering the question. What does it belong to Caesar? And then also, what does it belong to God? As a body, when we say, what does it mean that we give everything that belongs to God? That means that God is enough and God also owns it all. Our time of worship together, serving together, and part of it is also pitching in and giving together. So this is not just about Woodcrest needs your money. Maybe it's true. However, it's about the posture of generosity and posture of giving and supporting. That's why we have volunteers in the back. Yes, you're just ready to go. If you have any giving that prepared, you can put them in those buckets. Or if you're online, you can use our either Woodcrest app online to give and support. However, it's just more than just the giving as if that we're giving to Woodcrest. It's an act of worship of mindfulness that everything belongs to God and God is enough. So we're really grateful that you guys are here. Keep in mind, again, next Sunday, lunch after the 10:30 service. It's going to be awesome time that we all get together and then also do some connecting with each other. Band is going to lead us with one more song. So if you are still remaining standing, let's join the band. Taysa?
Thank
Thanks so much for singing with us. We'll see you next time.